Hello everyone and welcome to another week of HRL Tiaress Season 6 racing action. This one's actually going to be the 5th week of racing, so we've crossed over the month point, gotten to that point, gotten that far, so that's pretty cool. And also at the end of the last race for this set of videos, we'll definitely show some stuff off for the later half of the TRS season. Got a bit of an extension there, so there's your, well, if you don't already know, I've had it on the schedule for a while, but there's your little sneak peek, little extension, because season's been going pretty well so far, and want to do some more. But green flag here on TRS, ha 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 ha, get it, ha 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 ha, tracked by Roman on H2A. See Roman hitting the inside line there, getting pretty aggressive at the start. Yeah, this track's pretty basic Blood Gulch layout. A few different lines you can take in the corners, but pretty basic layout that sets you up for these collision zones. There's a few collision zones on this track, and they are pretty brutal. That being said, even though the track's pretty simple, it can definitely still make up some time on this one, although it can be pretty difficult dicing through the collision zones and trying to work by people. So definitely an interesting one, definitely more of a classic style like TRS track, and pretty fun to run. I think Turkey getting cheesed pretty hard by a collision there already. But yeah, this one definitely that classic style that I like, and overall I think this track was pretty solid H2A track. Definitely, I mean, I already talked about it in most of these commentaries, but I prefer the types of TRS tracks that are like this, where there's a decent amount of space. The collision zones are pretty well laid out. Like you can very obviously tell where they are, and some of them are a little more blind than others, but it's a good mix, and definitely a good addition to this night in particular too, because some of the other tracks we have in this night, okay, soul gets collected there, are a bit longer. This one, while it's not the shortest track, this one's definitely a lot shorter than at least one of the other tracks we have in this night. Oh my god, big collision right there. That was Roman and Soul on that one. I think Armada is actually leading the race right now, I think. So a few laps in, believe it's Armada, or is it Opix at this point? No, it is Opix at this point. Okay, it's hard to tell. I couldn't see him through those few collision zones, but Armada's in second, Luke's in third, Opix is up there, leading the race at this point. So definitely a good start for him, and something that he's been hoping for a few rounds. See if he can make it work. Still obviously a long race to go, but you definitely would rather be up front at this point than be working your way from the back. So pretty close, split the D on that collision there for Opix, but he did get through it clean. Could have been pretty scary, but ended up being not so bad. Oh, and Slaunch sent it and does collect him there, but honestly a pretty good recovery though. That wasn't that bad. Now obviously Armada and Luke are right behind him now, but the fact that he still has the lead after that collision, I would say, is a pretty big W, because that was that one looked like it could have been a lot worse. Here we go. And Luke kind of collected Roman at the end there, but for the most part, Armada and Luke pretty close on that one. Again, they're in the position that Opix was in last lap, and got through it pretty clean. So not too bad. But again, multiple collision zones you have to work your way through on this track. Feels like you're going through a collision zone for a large portion of the race. So definitely not it for them. Go on board with detail here. Rough start on this one. Trying to work his way back. That's Soul behind and Slaunch in front. Maybe making a move on Slaunch here. They're side by side. Not really too close with the lead pack there in the collision. Well, in that collision zone at least, Slaunch slides it out a little bit, trying to keep his tires on the inside, but too much slide and ends up conceding the spot. So this moves detail up to, I don't know at this point. I honestly don't know. It might actually be fourth. Wow, Slaunch gets cleaned out right there. I'm not exactly sure who he's involved with. Let's see here. Oh yeah, must have been Armada. So Armada got absolutely cheesed with Slaunch there, and this time, oh wow, big one right there. Detail gets sent back massively, and look at how big of a collision that was. Slaunch just passed him. That was such a big collision that Slaunch was able to completely pass him in that section because of how brutal that was. That is not something that you see that often, you know. That's like kind of the goal with these collision zones, but that really doesn't happen that often. So that was pretty cool to see that happen. Still, one of the more brutal collisions that we'll probably see throughout this entire race. Dismount there for Soul, so he must have got collected with a pretty bad one there too. Slaunch gets caught in the end of Luke right there, I think, and is going to lose, well, maybe not. Keep the spot on Soul, but lose a lot of track position on Detail. Ooh, Soul and Roman. Yeah, it was definitely Roman getting involved in that one. Okay, Detail and Luke with a little contact, and Luke actually was the leader right there, so that puts Armada to the lead. Opix has gotten cheesed back to third, but still pretty close behind, so these three guys definitely seem like the lead battle. It definitely seems like one of these three will be taking home the W on this one, but still a lot of time left to see how it plays out. They definitely have had a pretty big advantage over the rest of the pack, though. Yeah, I think the next closest... I think Roman is fourth now, maybe? I don't know. But still has quite a ways to go. Oh, big one right there. Armada losing a ton of time. Soul, it didn't seem like Soul got affected that much on that one. It seemed like it was pretty okay for him. Okay, not that close that time around. But yeah, so now Luke's going to go to the lead. I think Armada... Oh, wow, that was a big one right there. I was going to say, might take a look at a replay on that one, because that was another big one. And it looks like Detail involved in another massive collision here. Actually might have cheesed Armada a little bit there, too, funnily enough. But yeah, coming down here. Oh, and yeah, big one with Roman. Wow, they both got hit really hard. I definitely think it affected Roman less, but that being said, it's pretty bad. It is pretty bad for both on that one, so... Yeah, rough collisions on this track. This one's got some high-speed collisions, and you can already see you definitely got to try to avoid. Now then, sometimes you have the ones like what just happened to Armada right there, where it's just like a quick spin out. That happens sometimes too, but it seems like this track has a pretty high rate of the collisions just costing you like 5 seconds at a time, which it's different on some tracks. You know, some tracks have collision zones where, oh, it looks like Luke involved in another one there, and Opix catching up, battling for second now. Some tracks have the collision zones where like it's not too bad, and you know, maybe like what we saw with Armada earlier. Oh, that was close. Maybe like what we saw with Armada earlier, where it's like a little spin out, and then we'll see the ones like right there. What happened with Opix, where it's more brutal. Although again, Opix has been recovering on these pretty well so far. So if he can keep, I mean, you're going to get collisioned on this track, but if he can keep recovering like he has been, then I think he might be in a good spot, because it seems like some of these collisions have been more brutal for Luke and Armada so far. Being said, Opix has been hit with some pretty bad ones too, but it seems like he's getting back on his feet after them a little bit better. So, and again, if you can do that, if you can pull that off, that can definitely help, because you could always say like, oh yeah, you know, avoid the collisions. Thing is, everybody's going to get involved in the collisions at some point in these races and on this track in particular. Oh, Roman and Luke, and that is the lead right there as well. So, yeah, Roman and Luke getting involved in that one. That's going to cost Luke some time, allow Opix and Armada to catch a little bit, and, you know, getting closer back into that lead battle. Oh, and they collect again! Somehow they collect again. And then now Luke's going to go back to third, and Armada and Opix shoot up to 2 and 1. But yeah, what I was saying, like, you're gonna get involved in the collisions. You know, everybody's gonna get some collision involvement on a track like this. It's all about you know, minimizing it and like who recovers the best. Wow, look at this 2-wide battle through the collision zones out of Armada and Opix. By the way, that was very ballsy right there. But they went for it, and they didn't have any contact. And somehow, 3 times in like a lap and a half, Luke and Roman involved in the collision again. I don't know how they're on like the close pace for that to happen that many times, basically in a row, but somehow it just keeps happening. So that's going to throw Luke way off now, and it definitely looks like this lead battle is settling down to Armada and Opix. You know, with those 3 big collisions there. Oh, and another one right there as well. But with those multiple collisions, Luke and Roman are kind of pulling each other back in that 3rd and 4th a bit, I think. and Armada and Opix are kind of getting away with it at this point. So it looks like that'll be the third, fourth battle between Luke and Roman, and Armada and Opix now seems to be our 2-1 battle, and that's an interesting 2-1 battle to have because Opix has not won a race yet this season. Was very, very close. I think it was week 1, very close on the Reach track, Daintree on week 1. That was the one where we saw the really close finish. I think Detail getting involved in a collision the last lap, and then Luke making the pass for that one. But Opix also might have had the lead like last lap or 2 laps to go or something. I think he might have had it as well. There might have been 2 lead changes on the last lap. I'd have to go back and watch that one, but I know he led a decent amount of that race, and I know he was leading late and got some cheese there. So, you know, had an opportunity for it, wasn't able to get it. And look at this, with that collision right there, that does move Opix to the lead, and we are late in this. Oh, another one for Armada. The collision's coming out for Armada at the worst possible time. And I was looking at the checkpoints right there to see where we're at, and it's 176 when this race ends, and it looked like we were getting pretty close to around 160. So we're really close to the end here. So those 2 collisions right there for Armada were huge for Opix. If Opix doesn't get cheesed in, you know, 2 big collisions of his own, might even need a third. It looks like he might actually, this could be his chance. Like, he might actually run away with this. Obviously, Armada has gotten a moto win this season, but is looking for a second one. He's actually, it's the same story with World of Outlaw. Like, he's actually been pretty competitive. You know, he's been pretty solid, and, you know, getting his wins here or there. But I definitely think Armada's, like, had potential for more, kind of in a similar situation to Slanch and Turkey, honestly, where they have, like, potential for more moto wins than they end up getting. And I think that was kind of the case for those guys in World of Outlaw, and I think it's kind of a similar story here in TRS. That being said, Armada and Slanch, Armada and Slanch have gotten a moto win. They actually got theirs back-to-back a few weeks ago, so they have pulled that off. We're still waiting on Turkey to pull it off, and we're still waiting on somebody like Opix to pull it off as well. And speaking of which, I mean, he's doing it. He's doing it right here, and I think this might be white flag. If it's not white flag, it's 2 to go. Really close to the end here, and he's got a really good gap right now, and I gotta say, I think that dodge with Soul right there was huge. I think Opix is gonna pull it off here. Yeah, like, that's Armada right there. That's such a huge, again, it'll be at least 2 collisions, and they'd have to be bad ones, and we're coming to the end here. Opix looks like he's gonna pull it off and take his first TRS Moto win, and that was it right there. Taking his first TRS Moto win, Opix pulls it off here on TRS. God, that's annoying. So he takes for the freaking track name. It just doesn't work with the series. It doesn't work for the commentating. So Opix first. Armada does take second though. Another really good finish for Armada. He's been getting some good finishes here or there. Recently, Roman does end up taking the podium spot. Luke 4th, Slanch 5th, Detail 6th, Soul 7th, and Turkey 8th, and maybe a race that switches up the points quite a bit, because the top 2 points contenders that have been going back and forth, rare case here, Luke and Detail both finish off the podium, and Detail even finishes outside the top 5, so a rare off race for them, but a really good race for 2 drivers that haven't had as much fortune this season. Opix and Armada, congrats to Opix on the first moto win of the season. See you guys in the next one.